In this video, I'm going to be reading 3 horror stories about the deep web, plus there's a bonus creepypasta story at the end. If you want to listen to more stories and watch me draw, consider subscribing to my channel. I post new videos like this each week, but let's jump right into the stories. Enjoy. I saw my friend on the deep web. I'm 18 years old, and I find myself fascinated with the deep web stories and facts. It's really scary and mysterious to think that there are creepy things laying down there, like these hitmen, real killers and murderers, and other monsters live streaming illegal things. But what if there is something scarier than these? I wasn't the only one who thought the deep web was actually an interesting thing. My friend Darius also loves the deep web. In fact, he even enters it almost every day and enjoys it somehow. Even though I read facts and creepy stories about the deep web and find them interesting, I never entered it, because I always found these stories telling me, if you enter the deep web, be very careful because, and things like that. And it continues with people being killed because they entered but one wrong site, and these always get to me. Darius didn't seem to care, and I'll tell you now the full story of what happened to him. A week ago, I left outside biking with him, and he always told me the stories about these Red Room websites. I never believed this stuff because it's really messed up for someone to live stream someone being slaughtered, tortured, or worse. It's purely messed up. Darius never believed me when I said it was fake, and he always wanted to see if these Red Room websites were actually true or not. So he made a bet with me. If he finds a Red Room website, I would give him $100. I accepted because I'm not giving him $100 anyway, because these websites don't exist. They're just a myth. After we biked around our small town, he invited me to his house to search for Red Room websites. We stood at his computer on Tor browser for 5 straight hours, and we found nothing that related to Red Room websites. He almost gave up, but he didn't, and said, "I will find it, you'll see." I was really bored, because deep web not only includes creepy sites, but also boring information that makes no sense at all. So I went back home, did my homework, and went to sleep. Of course, Darius was still on his computer, searching for Red Room websites. I was sure he wouldn't find one, but he did. Next day was a weekday, and I went to school. I realised that Darius wasn't here, and I got a bit worried, since he was never absent from school, only when he gets sick, but he always tells me when he's sick or not. When I got home, I still thought of why Darius wasn't at school, so I did my homework really quick, grabbed my bike, and went to his house. Once I got there, I rang the bell, and his younger, 12-year-old sister answered. I asked, "Where is Darius? He was absent from school." She said, "Wait, was he? Last time I saw him was in the morning, where he went to buy some sandwiches before going to school. At least, I thought that's where he was going." "Let me inside," I interrupted. "I want to search his room really quick. I think I might know what got him missing." Darius's sister let me inside, and what I found in his room was shocking. His computer was still open, like yesterday, when we were searching for Red Room websites. He had multiple programs on the desktop, each with the same name, scheduling. And after opening one of them, it took me to a website on Tor. It was just a black screen with writing in red. The message reads, "Congratulations, Darius. You are scheduled for today on our website, RED, at 9 AM. See you soon." Below the message was a countdown, which when I arrived had just under 30 minutes left. I waited for the countdown to end. Not only for curiosity, but I was really worried about Darius's disappearance. When the countdown concluded, it led to another website, similar to Twitch, which had a live stream. It showed that it had 12,000 viewers, and on chat, I saw things like, "I'm so excited, let the fun begin," and "I've waited so long for this." The live stream started with a presentation and a woman saying, "Hello, and welcome to our brand new RED live stream. Today's guest is a 17-year-old boy with the name of Darius. Do you really want to know what happened next? No, you don't." The king come down. Hey guys, I have a story to tell. You probably won't believe me, and frankly, I'm done trying to convince people. It was about 3 weeks ago. I was on Google looking for some funny sites to check out, and I found my way to an image board. Everyone on the board spoke in extremely cryptic nonsense. They said things like, "Hail, I saw them tonight. Holding's hand, we are up in high. 9924028. The king come down." That was the one phrase that was used repeatedly. The king come down. At first, I thought it was spam because of the number strings that preceded it, but its use was way too frequent and erratic to be spam. There would be typos and the numbers didn't appear to be random. I decided, stuff it, I'll see what's going on with this site. I posted in what appeared to be a random board, much like /b/. As there was no discernible theme amongst the images and posts. I said, "Hello, I'm new. I was looking to start a funny thread." I then asked them to post their funniest pictures. That was the first time it started. I remember the first reply very clearly. It said, "Good to see. You joined the help. From there, it got strange. I was told to ignore the grafts. I assumed this was some sort of in-joke. From there, they began to speak like crazy people, posting seemingly random numbers and letters, characters from many languages. A few seemed Russian and Middle Eastern, as well as possibly Chinese and Korean characters. I had no idea what was going on. Then I saw the phrase again. Numbers followed by "the king come down." Following that, my power cut off. It was a complete blackout. It freaked me out. I checked the fuses and the switches had just flipped. Flipping them back up, the power went back on. When I returned to my PC, there was an image on the screen of a young boy. He was Caucasian, no older than 10. I sat down, creeped out, but feeling curious. The boy smiled and appeared to speak, but I couldn't hear anything. My speakers were on, so I turned up the volume. I could only just barely hear what he was saying. It was a hushed whisper. I turned the volume up full, and it was still only a faint whisper. His lips moved slowly. I pushed my head closer to try to figure out what he said. Then he shouted loudly. A booming and terrifying voice screamed at me like a demonic god. The image had changed. The boy was crying, his eyes bleeding heavily as white arms tore the skin from his face. The power cut out again. Again, it was the fuses. When I got my power back, everything was normal. My PC booted up normally, and nothing creepy happened. Then I started receiving the emails. They were extremely cryptic and filled with random numbers, much like the image board posts. I got an email that was in regular English too. It said this: "Pass it on. Just pass it on." I didn't know what it meant. I got up to get a drink and froze in fear. From my ceiling hung a man, his body swinging gently. On my wall, written in dry blood, were the words, "The king come down." I blinked, and the sight was gone. For weeks this continued. I went back to the image board. I was sure I was going out of my mind. I was just about to commit myself to a damn asylum when I read a post in coherent English that said something like, "Pass on the king." The thread 404'd before I could even get to it. I went to make a new thread, and when I began typing, the words in my mind were not what appeared in the box. My fingers typed words by their own volition. I typed two things, HGHSUTHS and 4918484, "The king come down." Then somehow I realized I was passing it on. The crazy hallucination stopped. I learned how to be safe. I'm sorry. HAKKSITMS 449197174. The king come down. The man in the wall. I don't know what had made me fool around with illegal stuff, like the deep web, but I heard that it was a place where stuff the normal internet didn't have was stored and viewed. Immediately, I got interested and asked my friend how I may access the deep web. He wrote me down the instructions. After a while, I decided it was time to go home. When I got home, I looked at the card he wrote the instructions on. It said I needed a browser called Tor. I accessed it. Needless to say, I got the search engine and read on. Next, it said I needed to find a page called Hidden Wiki. After a while of searching, I found it. I saw a bunch of nameless links. In the Hidden Wiki, links are given without name or description. People can only find out what's inside a link by clicking on it. After numerous sites filled with hitmen for hire and numerous other things I can't speak about on here, I came across a link that I had yet to discover. I clicked on it to see a video. I pressed play. I saw nothing but a wall. I stared at it for a few minutes. Just as I was about to exit, something emerged through the wall. I waited and watched longer. to discover it was a man with a mask. "Hey there," he said. Thinking this was a prank video, I just kept watching. After a while of me just staring at the screen, he began to speak again. "Aren't you going to speak?" he asked. I proceeded to type on the keyboard. "Not the keyboard. Speak," he said. At this point, I was a bit frightened. "Who are you?" I asked. "I'm your friend," he proceeded to say. At this point, I'm scared. My face is full of terror. I begin to start showing my fright. "Come on, friend. Don't give me that scared face," he said. This is when I got extremely frightened. "Just 1 second, my friend. I will get your address so I can talk to you in real life." He proceeded to type on his computer. Frantically, I tried to close the window down and get out of the video. "That won't work," he said. Before he had time to track my address, I got a screwdriver, removed the back and battery from my laptop. It's been some time now, and he hasn't come. He didn't have enough time to get my address. Or did he? TickTock Man. Clocks are not usually considered very sinister. They are such a common part of our everyday lives that we don't see anything wrong with them. Unfortunately, I have a phobia of clocks, especially the old-fashioned clocks with hands. To be more accurate, I have a phobia of ticking. The ticking of clock hands drives me crazy, makes me break into a cold sweat, and often run out of a room. The phobia has gotten so bad, I have considered seeking therapy. But when I ask my friends, most of them either laugh at me or tell me I should simply confront the fear and be done with it. Yet, as I sit alone in my locked room, listening to the ticking of a clock sitting nearby, I feel myself regretting the decision to listen to said friends. I can feel my heart beating in my chest, and I desperately try to block out the sound that seems to drill into my skull. Then it happens. In a flash, I am greeted with an image of a naked man sitting in the corner of my room, his skin a sickly shade of blue, and covered in what appears to be burns in the shape of Roman numerals. The figure has no face to speak of. Instead, he has a horrible clock face that reminds me at once of how my phobia began. The ticking ringing in my ears as the figure gets to his feet and sways from side to side. Tick, tock, tick, tock. My memories go back to when I was very young, listening to my mum and dad argue in the next room as I lay in my bed, a clock on the wall ticking away. After a few minutes, the sounds of my parents arguing faded as the clock began to play its infernal tune in my mind, a sense of terror running down my spine. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Looking to the corner of my room, which had a small nightlight at the time, I saw a figure in the dark, and my young mind immediately wanted to scream. Yet I was frozen, almost as if in a trance. as the horrible figure rose and started to sway, showing that clock face where a human would have a mouth and eyes. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Finally, my young self let out a terrible scream, and the figure disappeared like a phantom as my parents entered the room. They tried to comfort me, but the damage had been done. All I could hear was that ticking, that horrific sound, worse than any nightmare. Now, in the present, I don't have my parents to rescue me, nor do I have anywhere to run. As the monster from my childhood begins to make its way over to me, the ticking only getting worse as it moves in an awkward fashion, continually swaying as its neck seems to barely be capable of supporting that clock that appears to make up its head. I struggle to keep myself from screaming out as I shake uncontrollably. Then everything turns black as I finally pass out. The last thing I hear is the ticking. Tick, tock, tick, tock. When I open my eyes, I find myself in a new room with white walls. After a few moments, I realise I'm in a hospital bed, and a nurse looks me over. She informs me I had been found locked in my room by a friend, and I would have to stay for a while, as the doctors did some tests. I simply nod and begin to relax as I close my eyes a little, relieved to finally be free. I had faced my fears. Surely that was enough. Yet it only took me a few moments to open my eyes again, as I heard a familiar ticking. Glancing up at a clock on the wall, the nurse left the room, and I felt a cold sweat run down me once more, as I was left staring at that clock. The ticking continuing until I felt a presence in the corner of my room. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. Thank you for watching and supporting my channel. I try to incorporate different aspects from each story into the one drawing, and hopefully you like how it turned out. I've got a bunch of videos I'm currently working on, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out when they drop. But with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next drawing video. I'll see you then.